No. And people are taking this seriously. And so it's like it's dumbed down that you can't tell the news apart from Entertainment Tonight. You can't even tell election coverage apart from pro wrestling. You know, the punditoids sit around, they don't dare talk about any issues, they just analyze the attack commercials. And what they really don't want to have on the news is any coverage whatsoever of local elections. Don't let anybody know who's running for mayor or state representative or some of the referendums up there that might actually affect people's lives and all. No. Talk about celebrities. Shut up and shop. Shut up and shop. And I think the reason they do that is because even if you're stuck with a bunch of toxic cartoon characters controlled by multinationals at the national level for running for election, local elections are where it's at. You know, it matters who's mayor and who's on the city council and who's on the school board or the hydro board or whatever, because they have much more direct effect on how tax money is spent. And plus, I don't know about up here, but at least in the States, way less people vote in local elections. Which means that people like us show up and vote smart, we have a far better chance of getting good people elected and good laws passed because so many people don't pay attention. Nobody works this angle better, unfortunately, than the religious right. So, you know, to me, that's one of the main reasons to vote. I didn't vote for years because I was so fed up with the lack of choice from the Republicans. But Frank Zappa talked me back into it, among others, and then I realized, since we do have our ballot referendums down in the States, what fun it was to go down and vote against baseball stadiums. And vote against football stadiums, especially when they kept losing and all. It got me back into it. But instead, what we did, passing for news, even in a critical election time, Fox had a series recently, Why is Jesus so popular now? Or Time, it's Newsweek, Newspeak, or no better, the very week that the UN got strong-armed into okaying Bush going into Iraq, which is pretty major news, if you ask me. What's on the cover of Newspeak, but why TV is good for kids. Yeah. And the very next week, after Democrats gave that election away and didn't talk about Enron to take back Congress and couldn't be bothered to, go after all the rising homelessness and maybe we should not be going to war in Iraq, handed it to Bush and here, that lovely face of his, there's the top guy. He's your top gun from now on. You're our hero. President's flight jack and everything. Don't mess with Texas. And here's one. Special report. Are music and movies killing America's soul? I hope so. Somebody better be killing America's soul, and by extension this one too, and their idea of what our soul should revolve around are things like, who's going to win on Survivor? Or, don't worry about global warming, that doesn't exist. No, worry about staying forever young. Or, who deserves to die? Yeah, I'm going to change the order of these. I think that should come before Survivor. Okay. Well, that's not enough. God, I see what you're getting at there. I wasn't even thinking of that. Instead, I'm thinking of the New Age of Angels. 69% of Americans believe they exist. What in heaven is going on? What in heaven is going on when, lo and behold, Time finally admits a few years ago feminism exists. But the way they tackle it is feminism dead? Black background, ghostly, corpse-like headshots of respected feminist leaders Susan B. Anthony and Betty Friedan and Gloria Steinem. And here's the color picture of who they say represents modern feminism, a fictional television character written and created by men named Ally McBeal. Yeah. still galls me how many people take those seriously. So we got to do something about that. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, well, let's get to this. To another really important part of that, though, too, is what stories get left out. Also, New York Times, for example, sat on the story of the NSA being used to spy on American citizens, you know, the exact thing that got Nixon impeached, and they sat on its story for a year and didn't let it out until one of the reporters had quit and wrote a book about it that was about to come out. In other words, they could have let it out before the 2004 election, or they endorsed John Kerry on their editorial pages to keep the readership, but behind the scenes, we got to make sure Bush doesn't lose. We're going to sit on this story. And they even spiked a story that was supposed to go on the front page of, remember, you know the tale of the lump underneath Bush's jacket, you know, the debate, that turned out to be a teleprompting device. They denied it was all conspiracy fantasy, but a reporter from the San Francisco Chronicle went down to the spyware store on Market Street and bought the same device for $1,500. But even then, I mean, Bush was so dumb that he needed prompting just to do what he was going to do anyway, no matter what the question was. What about the homeless? What about everybody with no health insurance? Fact terror. Defend freedom. Fact terror. Defend freedom. I only had the stomach to watch the second debate. He looked like a carnival barker on crack who had to have an ankle shade to keep him from mauling his own audience. Fact terror. Defend freedom. Fact terror. Defend freedom. And I said, oh, Bush won the debate because he stayed on message. You know, no matter what the question was, fact terror. Defend freedom. Fact terror. Defend freedom. But another example, or here's another one. You remember the tale of Jessica Lynch? Yeah. The female soldier who supposedly got in this horrible firefight, badly wounded with bullets, and the Iraqis came up and stabbed her and bayoneted her, and for some weird reason took her to the hospital anyway, where they had Saddam's elite Revolutionary Guard guarding her like a prize hostage. But then in came the heroic American troops, wiped out the Revolutionary Guard, didn't lose a man, and whisked poor Jessica back to safety. Oh, what a feel-good story. Rah, rah, isn't war wonderful? Well, one problem with that one is Jessica Lynch herself admits that isn't what happened. And that what really happened was, I think they might have been caught in a little bit of a firefight. It was mainly a Humvee accident. And then the Iraqis, when they found her, they first sent the ambulance towards the American lines to get her back to her own people, and the Americans fired on the ambulance. So then the ambulance turns around and goes to an Iraqi hospital where they tell the Americans where she is, and she's guarded by nobody. Until the troops storm in with Fox News cameras being blanks. And she started to detail some of this in an interview with Diane Sawyer after her book came out, and then Sawyer began to realize what was up, and she's got that look of mock concern on her face that he's practiced so many times in front of the mirror, and, well, weren't you raped? I don't remember anything like that. Well, you could have been, couldn't you? Oh, please, anything, save the lie, save the lie. We gave you $1 million and this is an election year. Don't you know your job here? You know, as far as I'm concerned, you know, forget the Stockwell Day types and Jerry Falwell and Tipper and Hillary trying to wipe out music and culture. I think the corporate-owned news outlets that people believe are truthful deliberately leaving out important parts of the story or forgetting to report an important story at all is the worst kind of censorship going on today.